Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. So glad you could join us this morning, taking time out of your busy schedule to come out and support local entrepreneurship in our community. They really appreciate it, and we do too. We've got a great presenter on tap today. We have Miss Pamela Heyward with SOS Life Sciences Corporation. She is from Wrightsville Beach. And so without further ado, let's give her a big welcome. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Pamela. It's all yours.
Thank you so much. And good morning, everyone. And thank you for taking time out, like Lori said, of your busy day to listen to my presentation. So I'm going to tell you my reason why I invented my product, then tell you where I am in the market and where I'm going in the future. And if you have any questions, please, ask me. I'm very transparent and would definitely answer anything that you guys questions you guys needed. So I'm Pamela Heyward, and I'm a mom of 4 children, and my 2 oldest daughters, Taylor and Emily, have type 1 diabetes. So Taylor was diagnosed at the age of 3, and she's now 30, and Emmy was diagnosed at the age of 12, and she's now 28. So I've lived with the disease a very long time. So the girls did not like glucose tabs. And the reason for that, they're very big and chalky and cumbersome, inconvenient to take around with them. So they turned to candy like Starburst and juice, which is not that convenient to carry around at all times. And I noticed that when the girls would turn to juice and candy, because that's a different sugar, it's fructose and sucrose, that that sugar has to be converted into glucose. So they would overtreat the condition, then their blood sugar would spike. So they would be on that imbalanced blood sugar roller coaster for a long time. And oftentimes they would have a low blood sugar, and they had just eaten dinner. So they didn't want to eat. So I'm having to force feed them to make sure they had 15 grams of glucose to raise the blood sugar. Taylor's more of a brittle diabetic. So I've literally seen her near death, having life-threatening seizures. It was frightening. And I'm literally trying to pour juice, down her throat, just, very carefully, obviously, so she wouldn't choke, but they're near death. You want to do what you can to, save their life, have, call 911 and have someone look over them, give them the glucagon. It was frightening. So one day we were skiing, and anything can affect your blood sugar levels, from the barometric pressure in the atmosphere, stress, anything. So we're at the bottom of the gondola. We had breakfast, and both the girls said, "I'm low." I'm like, oh my gosh. So they take their boots off, all their skiing gear, run, go find something, force feed them again. It was always like that. So I just said, as a mom, we're all skiing on different, blacks, blues, greens, whatever. What am I going to do to make sure my children make it back safely to me? And I said, okay, I've got to invent something. So I thought, honestly, at that moment, I thought about BC powders and how that delivery is absorbed directly into the bloodstream. So I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invent an all natural glucose powder. So that's what I did. So it had to be all natural. It had to be such a fine powder that the second it hit your saliva, it dissolves, and it's absorbed in the buccal mucosa and goes directly into the bloodstream. So it's in lieu of going through the digestive process, it works super, super fast. And the reason it's in a 15-gram packet that will go with you anywhere, wallet, pocket, purse, and it's direct to mouth, no water needed. And it is 15 grams, which is in accordance with the ADA's guidelines, which I had to get their approval, and that's the American Diabetes Association, in order to list the guidelines on the packaging. So when I set out on this journey, I had 2 things to teach people, and that is all sugars are not created equally. Glucose is the fastest way to raise your blood sugar level, and people didn't understand the 15 grams. Well, because I educated them, they need the 15 grams. They learned that in taking my product, not only did it work super fast, but it also eliminated blood sugar spiking, which is another complication of hypoglycemia. So I started out my business with my first product that I developed. I can't mention the name, but I was in a 2-year partnership with that product, and there was a major breach of contract 2 years into the relationship, and I walked away and had to start over. So that's how Glucose SOS began. It was a very difficult situation. They're still marketing my product right now, but I just wanted to let you guys know things like that happen in business. And when they do, it can catapult you to a higher level. So then I had another partnership, and I was working hard to get in the retail space. And Ingalls was my first retailer, Black Mountain, North Carolina. And at the time, the way they cut the first PO, these partners were like, we're not going to fund this. We need multiple POs. I'm like, what? So I had developed thousands of pounds of glucose powder, had my manufacturer who had ordered cartons and foil, but this is to give you hope that you can move any mountain that you want to. So here I'm sitting here going, what am I going to do? Because I didn't have the capital to fund the manufacturing myself. So I made a phone call, and I was honest to the glucose manufacturer and the other, the manufacturer, the co-packer. And they said, you know what, Pamela, we'd love to manufacture this for you because we know you're honest. We know that you'll pay us back. I could not believe it. It's that leap of faith that catapulted me to such a high level. So once I got into Ingalls, I started flying. I contacted every retailer. So I'm in most of the major retailers. I think Walmart, it took 3 years. Kroger, they told me no for 2 years. And then just started building one by one. So I was like, okay. So then I found my company, a big, huge company, the largest manufacturer of glucose tabs in the world, came to me about 2.5 years ago and tried to buy my brand. And it turned out to be a fiasco of a lot of attorneys arguing over the value of my company. And anyway, long story short, that didn't work out. And I'm telling y'all that for a reason, because it's pretty interesting. So I had another company in Florida that said, hey, Pamela, we want an equity stake in your company. So I did. Best thing I've ever done in my life. So they run all the infrastructure of my business, logistically, we have accounting department, everything. So my job is to go out and sell and create new product lines. So with that being said, it was finally the right partnership. And I was able to develop a second product, which is Glucose SOS for pets with diabetes. And because pets go into lockjaw when they have hypoglycemia, it had to be a gel in order to administer a tube in the back of their, jawline. So I did that, and we have a major distributor in the vet space distributing. We also finally got on Chewy.com, and we're building that brand as well. But the interesting thing that happened, I developed my third product, and it is quite revolutionary, and it's the first ever freeze-dried glucose tab. And it's pretty cool. They took my original formula and they infused fresh fruit puree in that formula. So you hydrate a product and then you dehydrate it. And that's why it's freeze-dried. But it's interesting because the second you bite into these tabs, or what I call melts, they just immediately dissolve in your mouth. So I went back to the company that tried to buy me 2.5 years ago. I had not burned any bridges. And I think they were kind of shocked. I came back to them and I was like, hey, I'm going to cannibalize the tablet market. So would you like to license this product? And they're like, absolutely. So I think I secured the best deal of my life. I was very, very proud of myself because normally I manufacture the products. I have to handle the manufacturing process, pay for it, do everything. Then I sell my product wholesale, B2B and B2C. But this time I came to this particular company and I said, these are my cost of goods and I want a 30% margin. I want royalty paid on every unit that you order. And besides, I want you to pay for all the manufacturing. I'll set it up for you and you'll do all the marketing and distribution. That was the best deal ever secured. And their initial forecast for the first year is 2.4 million units. So I I have another product in development in France, with Chaucer Foods. It's going to be a freeze-dried smoothie tab. Pretty cool, has all these vitamins and stuff in it. Like I said, currently in the market, I'm in most of the major retailers in the US, the major distributors like McKesson and Henry Schein and Cardinal Health. I'm HSA, FSA approved. I'm actually even selling my product through their store. And I've got distribution in the UK and Australia. And so that's kind of where I am. And again, you know, I find being a solopreneur that everybody thinks that being in business on your own, that it's easy, but it's the most rewarding thing that you can do. You just have to stay the course. You're going to fail. You're going to have some nasty business relationships, but you got to pick yourself back up and you've got to say, I believe in what I'm going to do and I'm going to get to the finish line. So I've already set my company up and partnered with this big company to selling it to them. I've given them the first right of refusal to buy my brand. And while I was able to gain the right partnership right now, I'm actually wanted to hit a different market, which is the emergency kit market. So I have an opportunity with a company called Total Resources International, and they are, because they have a diabetes related kit in the Philippines. So their orders for the forecast for the first year is in the millions. But because of COVID, my manufacturing for them has been put on hold 2 times. Philippines has been in lockdown multiple times. And I'm also working with Cintas. You probably know them as the uniform company, but they are the largest emergency kit provider in the world. And they've asked me to change my packaging to a stick pack. So I'm also working with a manufacturer out in Oregon right now to give them samples. So currently I've got my pet product manufacturing in Florida. I've got my human glucose SOS being manufactured in South Carolina. The freeze drying product is being manufactured in New Jersey, and the prototypes for Cintas is in Utah. So I'm all over the board. But if you have any questions, you know, please feel free to ask me now.
Pamela, I have a couple of questions. You're absolutely first, the epitome of an entrepreneur, and it's been a great pleasure having you today. When you talk about your glucose SOS, the powder, is that for type 1 diabetes only, or is it for type 2? Because I know that we're having we're having an epidemic of type 2 diabetes in our country today.
It's for type 1 or type 2. Even if you have type 2 diabetes, you can have hypoglycemia. You know, I wanted to share something with you guys. I apologize, I didn't do it sooner. I just kind of slipped my mind, but I had the most amazing opportunity happen to me within the last 6 weeks. People get online, they look at brands on how you're doing on Amazon, and we do a great, we're in the 6 figures on Amazon. I'm very fortunate with that business, but I had one of the original sharks, I can't say his name, but one of the original sharks, his office contacted me. So we'd like to talk to you about your product. So I was then able to talk to the VP. We did a Zoom meeting, and I said point blank to her, I'm constantly getting calls from like the Montel Williams show or whatever saying, will you be on our diabetes? And then they segment, and they say, okay, we want $50,000. So I said to them up front, what is this going to cost me? She's like, nothing. When this shark gets involved in your company, they either want an equity stake or a royalty. I was like, really? I couldn't believe it. So had to go through the approval process. They finally told me they approved it. And then I got an email from the top of the line, except for the sharks. I'm like one down dealing with them. They're putting together a business strategy for me. And she said, I am so excited to work with you on this product. I myself have type 1 diabetes, and I've had it for 27 years. I do not like the tabs, and I'm just so excited about working on this project with you. It is interesting how people find you and how opportunities come to you like this. Seems like, you know, everyone knows someone with diabetes.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to this powder, so you're saying it's like a BC powder, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is. Well, I mean, do you find any challenges? Because like I'm a Southern girl. I know that's surprising, but a lot of people, even in our area, don't even know what a BC is, and it's a staple in my home. Do you find challenges associated with the BC powder, it being like a BC powder, or you don't?
No, I don't market it that way. I have like 45,000 followers on Instagram in my holistic family. So I don't even really mention BC powder. It's just something that came to me at that moment. I had to have a powder that just dissolved upon contact with the saliva and absorbed through the buccal mucosa and into the bloodstream. And that's what I did. We have 4 flavors, and so that's it.
I gotcha. And one other question: what does an SOS sell for? If I have wanted one and I went, do you need a prescription? And if
No.
no, what does a pack of that sell for? Is it
Yeah,
expensive?
it's considered a supplement. So the MSRP is $7.99. I think Kroger has it a little less, like in the high sixes. It's 15-gram servings. So,
Okay.
and we don't have to have an expiration date on it. It's governed by the FDA because it is considered a supplement, and it is pure glucose and with some malic and citric acids, which are natural preservatives. So it really never goes bad anyway.
Okay. And one last question, and then I'll turn it over to everyone else. So you mentioned you're creating a product for pets. I've done a lot of work with rescues. I've had diabetic cats, dogs, and even a diabetic duck. So I understand about how the mouth clenches together. How do you differentiate your gel from like NutriCal or even K-Rose syrup? Because you know a lot of times K-Rose syrup will bring the sugar levels up should you need it in a pet.
Yeah. And I have already launched that product. It's been on the market for
Okay.
a couple of years. Well, it's just like what I talked about. All sugars are not created equally. So if you give your pet K-Rose syrup, it's a different sugar. So you're putting your pet, really, it could lead to additional complications of over treating, giving them too much, then the blood sugar spikes. So this, it's frightening to see your pet or humans or anyone have a low blood sugar episode. So you need to take all the guesswork out of it as you can. So mine literally says, here's take this much, tells you exactly how much to administer, knowing it won't spike their blood sugar levels.
Fantastic. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I have a couple of observations and then 2 questions, or maybe one. First of all, I like the idea of the powder thing. My first move to the South, I was introduced to BC powder when I had a headache, and one of my Southern friends said, "Here, try this," and I said, "Really?" And you put it on your tongue, and he says, "Yeah, that'll get rid of the headache quicker than a pill will." And man, it was fantastic. So I really appreciate the powder idea, and the fact that you've got flavored ones is fantastic. But I guess the one real question I have here is that obviously, like many people here on the panel that are familiar with Shark Tank, their investments generally are with upstart companies, but you seem to be well on your way as being, having a very strong foundation as a corporation. And so I was a little surprised to hear that, but I could see why they would jump on it. I guess the big question I have is, what is it you need to do to make yourself bigger? Or are you looking for expansion geographically or in terms of product line?
Yeah, it was kind of shocking they reached out, but he is not on Shark Tank anymore. He was one of the original ones on Shark Tanks. He has a TV enterprise company now. There's a lot of people that don't know about my product. There's several markets I have not even tapped into. sports market, the all natural, 100% all natural market. So they can help me with, marketing. I haven't had the capital I need to let everyone know about this product. So if they want to jump in, I'll definitely pay them a royalty. I'm probably not interested in an equity stake. But what they want to do is jump in on the marketing side. They can help me, just like you said, you can get into Kroger, you can get in any of the retailers, but especially launching in some of these stores at COVID, it was very, very difficult. So you've got to go in there and market it, and that they will be able to take me to a higher level. Sure, they have global, distribution. Like I'm trying to work out a deal in India, and it's hard. It's difficult to put these deals together because I have to change my whole business model. I can't send them, because logistically to send them a carton with 6 packets, it doesn't make sense. So I'll send them bulk, packets over there and get them to manufacture the cartons. It just gets so expensive with the registration, the taxes and duties, and stuff like that. So you're just always reinventing yourself. So it would really be nice to have an expert that even has the potential of getting some television advertisements from me.
Well, that really answered the questions. I got to tell you, as a teacher, I've not often had experts come into the classroom because I think I know the right things to teach, but I would extend an invitation to you anytime. It sounds like you've got a really good handle on not only your merchandising, but operations and things like that. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's been tough. It's as Miley Cyrus, that song, it's all about the climb. It really is. And you rise, you fall, you rise, you fall. There's, just like with this third product, the freeze-dried tab, I was in a relationship with a manufacturing relationship. There's only 2 manufacturers in the US that do this. It's a bit specialty. And I had been working with an R&D with this company that developed the freeze-dried yogurt melts for Gerber and Happy Family. And for a year, had a great relationship. And so I had a technology and development agreement I needed them to sign after a year. And they refused to sign it. I'd redlined it 3 or 4 times, had our attorneys, let our attorneys talk. They would not, refuse to sign it. So on a Friday afternoon, after I'd already signed a licensing agreement, letter of intent to this big company that's going to distribute this product for me, they called me on a Friday afternoon, a week before my daughter's wedding, which was in April. And they said, we're backing out of the deal. We're not signing it. I'm like, what? I just put my head down on my desk on that Friday afternoon. And I just said, what am I going to do? I spent all weekend just researching and researching and researching. And by that Monday, I had 3 NDAs in place by Tuesday of that week. And then I started R&D with 3 different manufacturers, but 2 couldn't pull it off and 1 did. But you know what? It's the best thing that ever happened to me. They're great partners. The company that I licensed to is a really huge company, and we're all working great together. So again, it was catastrophic on that Friday, but I turned it around, and thankfully it did catapult me to a higher level. Everybody must need another cup of coffee this morning.
Do we have any more questions for Pamela?
Yeah, I wanted to find out, how are the like the physician's offices accepted this? Are they recommending this? Is this something that could possibly be used on a prescription method where it can be covered by insurance?
I don't think it'll ever be covered by insurance. I think in the UK, their glucose tabs are. It is definitely recommended by physicians. And I've worked with the American Diabetes Association, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. I'm constantly giving out samples to them for their walks and stuff like that. But I had a gynecologist office call me, and she said, we need to order some more glucose SOS. I'm like, why? You know, you're not an endocrinologist. And she said, well, we are fasting, you know, our patients that fast and come in have to have their blood drawn. We give them a packet to, you know, basically stabilize them. So when they walk out of the office, they have energy, natural energy, and that's what we use it for. So we have it, you know, being used in many different areas in the medical field, but I have support from, you know, a lot of physicians with my product.
Are you marketing it to them, or is it just by word of mouth? How does that?
A lot of it is by word of mouth. That's why I would love to have someone help me with marketing to get to all these different areas that I just don't have time to do it. Just managing the retailers primarily by myself is a lot of work. I just got into Rite Aid on on Monday, and the vendor paperwork. And then you don't just get into a retailer, you have to access and these other different databases like One World Sync. So not only do you set your product up in Kroger's system, you then have to set up in One World Sync. So there's multiple facets, and set up the EDI transmission. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So I definitely would be very thankful to have help with the marketing to get it in more hands of physicians and other people.
That would be even a good, like what you're talking about with doctor's offices using it when patients come in fasting, even where there's people are donating blood. That would be a good idea to have it there.
I have been talking to the American Red Cross for a long time, and the buyer loves it. He bikes back and forth to work, so he's in Washington, and he loves that pick me up of using glucose SOS. But believe it or not, they want a 20-gram packet. So then you're looking at private labeling for them again, which I'm happy to do.
Right.
But I definitely wanted to get into that space.
Sounds like a great business you created here. Kudos.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you, it gives me a great sense of comfort knowing that when I go visit my daughter in Atlanta, I have 2 grandchildren, and the youngest one, when she was 1, she saw her mom having a low blood sugar, and she grabbed an empty packet off the countertop and ran to her mother and just started like trying to put it in her mouth. And then when I see her baby stroller, she has 2 kids, and they're empty glucose SOS packets in her floorboard of her car, in the stroller. And I'm like, thank you so much, God, for helping me get to this point that I have saved their lives. I mean, for me to wake up every day and to have the gift of having this holistic family like this, and knowing and respecting what they go through every day, it's just, they're the biggest heroes to me ever. And knowing that I've given them a tool to save lives it's the greatest joy and blessing ever, is to have that every day. So I'm very thankful for it.
So we've got a comment in the chat box, Pamela, from Audra. She says she thinks this is a fantastic product, as all of us do. Do you think that you'll ever venture into other markets, such as maybe like nitroglycerin in a different form, or maybe even an EpiPen type product?
My goal, and I feel like I've set my company up to reach this goal, it's a very realistic goal, is to sell my company to the company I license my 3rd product to. And I have such a great relationship with them that I'd like to sell it, buy a farm, and then, yes, develop additional products and license to this company over and over again. It's my favorite thing to do. Is my mind never stops thinking about things to develop. And I know how to manufacture. I can manufacture anything. And so I know how to do all this stuff and how to create prototypes and R&D. So I would love to just keep funneling different products to them and license it to them.
Any other questions? So from Wrightsville Beach to a farm, that's going to be quite a change, right, Pamela?
I'm from Thomasville, Georgia, South Georgia, and I was raised on a farm. Actually brought, pigs home from field trips that was going to get put down, and I raised them. So it'd just be like going back home.
Right. So if we don't have any other questions, I'll take the last question. Pamela, what can this community do for you? How can we help?
I'm always appreciative of people sharing, word of, of my product. Again, marketing is, and word of mouth marketing is very important. So if I just would kindly ask if, anyone knows anyone with diabetes, please share with them my product, and, let them know. It's the main thing is that it works really fast. It's all natural, and it doesn't spike your blood sugar. And, you're not going to use it every single time. Sometimes you may want a bowl of cereal or whatever, but it will give anyone's loved ones who has someone living in their family with diabetes a great sense of comfort, knowing that they're always prepared to treat hypoglycemia, and that they need this product to save their lives. And so this, just kind of word of mouth and sharing. And my website is just, www.glucosesos.com. Oh, I did want to share one thing. When you talked about the hospitals, I'm really always donating back to my community. There's a young lady with type 1, and she has created these coloring books where she, for everyone that's newly diagnosed with diabetes, especially, I guess, primarily for children, she is going to be putting together a newly diagnosed kit, and one of them is going to be coloring books for the children. And so I helped donate the funds to make that happen. And so Glucose SOS will be part of these coloring books that are going out for newly diagnosed children.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I personally, I have a dear friend that has type 1 diabetes, and I talk to her quite often, and the roller coaster that she stays on with her blood sugar, I cannot wait to share this. I can't wait to share it. Yeah. We do have one other comment in the chat box from Don. He says, congrats on the business. Do you foresee these powders and tabs replacing insulin shots?
No, it's totally different. My product treats hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar. Insulin is what they need to live, which lowers your blood sugar. So if you're newly diagnosed with diabetes, your blood sugar's high. So you need insulin to stabilize your blood sugar. So everything you eat turns into sugar except for like lettuce. So every time someone with diabetes puts anything in their mouth, any carb in their mouth, they have to inject insulin to balance out the carb intake. So it's a carb insulin ratio. So it's hyperglycemia in lieu of hypo. So no.
Well, we would love to invite you back at some point, and you can come tell us how things are going. I also teach business and entrepreneurship here at Fayetteville Tech, and I would love to invite you, as well as Mr. Meyer, to come back and talk to some of our students, our young upcoming entrepreneurs. You would make a valuable contribution.
Thank you. I would love to. I would just, everybody has a different business style. I'm not technical. I am very honest, and probably I say things people are like, what did she say? I mean, when a buyer says, hey, you're going to get into Kroger, I give them a hug, not a handshake. That's just who I am. But I just, would encourage everyone to never give up on their dreams. The road is not going to be easy. But I promise every failure does, again, I've said it multiple times, catapult you to a higher level. There's a reason for you to fail. And you just can never give up. You have to stay the course. So I would be honored to do that. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Pamela. With that being said, you guys, I'm going to let you go. I hope I really appreciate your time, your comments, and so does Pamela. I hope to see you back next Wednesday. We have trail merge that will be coming next week, so I hope you will join us. Pamela, thank you again. You guys have a fantastic day. Thanks. See you next week.
Thank you. Thank you so much.